Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online. And I'm your host, Kent Pavelka. Welcome again to Metro and More of what you need to know about Metropolitan Community College. And this half hour, that's all about what's new in financial aid at MCC with our guests. Ingrid Berlin back on the show. Ingrid is Dean of Enrollment Services at Metropolitan Community College, and Wilma Jellum, Director of Financial Aid and Veteran Services. Ladies, good to have you both on the same program.
Thank you.
We've had you on individually before, but now we've got, I'm being double teamed today.
There you go.
Just take a minute for folks who've maybe not seen the show before with you guys on it, a little bit about yourselves. Ingrid, your background, tenure at MCC, current duties, that kind of thing.
Started with Metropolitan Community College in 2009. Currently in my role, I have financial aid under my responsibilities, the contact center, records office, which is a registrar, and then recruitment. And prior to that, I have been in education for all but 1 year since I got out of college. So whether a path plan or not, it's been many years now, where I've been working in financial aid, even one time short stint as a director of financial aid. So I know
you're back doing
enough
that
to
again.
be dangerous sometimes.
You mentioned college. Do I remember correctly? UNL?
I went to South Dakota State University.
State, I'm sorry.
That's right.
All right. Very good. Jackrabbit or Coyote?
Jackrabbit.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
Did some graduate work with the Coyotes, but.
Well, okay. And Wilma?
I've been in financial aid and worked at Metro since early 2009. And I've been doing financial aid and higher ed administration with financial aid programs for 30 years. And I enjoy it. It's not something you go to college to go into. It's things you happen into, but it's where you make a difference. And so that's why I've stayed with financial aid and helping students to make a difference.
Well, let's talk broad strokes first. Both of you chime in here. Just define what we're talking about. What is financial aid? Who qualifies? What students do to avail themselves of it? That sort of thing.
Well, the primary thing that everyone knows about is the federal financial aid programs, and that's the Pell Grant. Pell Grant is the largest program that the federal government administers and that we administer. And in order to get federal financial aid, Metro, we only have one application, and that is the federal application for, it's the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA. Everybody knows the FAFSA, they can't remember what it stands for. And so that's all we require students, and if they're eligible for the Pell Grant program, that, there's a lot of things that they can do, and to apply, they only have 2 parts they have to do. The federal government, for security purposes, to protect students' individual identity, they're very concerned with that. So they implemented about a year ago where you have to get a federal student ID. And so there's a process. We have a link on our website. You get a federal student ID, and then once you have that, we tell you, don't share it, protect your information. Then you use that to go out and do an electronic FAFSA, and you sign it using that federal ID. And the government has made the application process easier. I know a lot of people have fear about doing the FAFSA form, and parents for dependent students have fear about doing the FAFSA form because they believe it's very complicated. They have gone to great lengths to simplify the process, and now not only can you do it all online, you can actually import your IRS data directly into your FAFSA by using what's called the data retrieval tool. And we encourage students to do that. It makes it so much easier for them to complete it and electronically sign. And if they use data retrieval, they don't have to turn in tax transcripts if they get selected for verification, which is a process that we have to do in collecting information from students. If the government selects you for verification, it's simply that we want to verify the information provided. So again, it streamlines paperwork for students if they use that, and for parents also. So it's a much simpler process than it's ever been before in the past.
Free application for
Federal student aid.
Aid, okay, not assistance.
I think there's a couple of important points to make with that. It is free. Sometimes students will see it available and how they can apply for financial aid, and they're charged a fee. If they are charged a fee, they are not
in the right place.
They are not to be using. They
You
are
mean
not,
at other institutions?
no,
or-
there may be some
Online.
Oh, okay.
where they say they'll assist you and they'll provide the application to you, but it's
That's
free.
not the government.
That's right.
Right.
So free, and then you mentioned the identification.
The
and
FSA ID.
and that is something new. I think prior to this they were using the PIN number.
A PIN
is that right?
number,
So
yeah.
it is new. So it might sound odd.
Don't
to
quite
some
understand what the concern is or what the objective is regarding anonymity. I mean, if they select you to help you, they know who you are.
Well, except for they don't want someone else to use, and we have had some identity issues where someone else was trying to use a different student's
Gotcha.
information. And so it's another type of security that the government sets to make sure that it's you
Yeah, it's
filling that out.
identity theft.
Yes.
Regarding this specific
Programs.
programs. But what? Okay, so how much money and what percentage of tuition can a student get, and what do you have to do to qualify? And then you mentioned being selected. I don't quite understand.
Yeah, it's when you do an application, the government system, it's called the Central Processing System. And as your application goes through that system, it randomly tags the applications, about 1 in 3, so it's high probability. 1 in 3 applications is randomly selected by the government for verification. And verification, it's not, we have a lot of students, they refer to it as an audit. It's not that complicated. It's simply the government to maintain the integrity of the programs and to make sure that the student and the information is correct for purposes of eligibility, that we verify the information provided. That's all verification is you are who you say you are, and that your household size and your financial information is correct. Because when we do verification, if there's corrections required, we'll submit those, and in more times than not, it's to the student's advantage. In other words, they made an error, and let's say they aren't eligible for the grant program, but we find that they made errors, we correct them, and all of a sudden they are eligible for
Gotcha.
grant programs. So it's not a bad thing, it's a very good thing, even though it's painful for some families.
But as a student, I'm coming into Metropolitan Community College. How do I know if I'm even in the ballpark regarding qualifying for assistance or aid?
Well, they're notified now right away if they have the information sent to Metro. They're receiving a financial aid award letter that explains to them what they would be eligible on an estimated level until they get all their paperwork in right away.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, should all students apply for it, or what?
Yes, actually, I do encourage, a lot of times we'll have families who'll say, well, we make too much money, or we don't think that we'll qualify for the Pell Grant, and so they don't apply. It's a free application. And I tell them, if you've never applied, apply at least once, so you can make an informed decision if you apply for subsequent years. So, and everyone who applies, at a minimum, you could be eligible for the student loan programs, which there's all kinds of benefits to the guaranteed loan programs that the government offers. So even though you may not get grants, and then also we use some of that data to determine scholarship eligibility. So, you know, it doesn't hurt, and that's why I tell everyone they should at least apply one time so you can make an informed decision about how you're going to fund your education from that year and then going forward.
Nothing to lose, in other
No,
words.
absolutely not, and that's why I always say it's a free application.
And we use it for eligibility for scholarship determination within Metro, but also many scholarships outside of Metro, external to us, will require that you apply because it may be based on some kind of need or maybe based on something completely different, and that's just a part of what they require.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so like I said, it's free, so, you know, file your application. And if they need assistance, we have assistance at all of our campuses. And we will make special appointments for students if they want to make an appointment so that they know they have a set time. We have so many different ways we can help them. They just need to let us know. And we have a separate number for the financial aid office so they can get to people right away if they need assistance. So we just hope that all of them will file their applications.
So what's the proper way to go about this? If I'm a current student at Metropolitan Community College and I have not applied, or if I'm coming in or thinking about coming in, do I do this on my own or do I contact financial aid for assistance first, or what do you recommend?
It's whatever you need in terms of help. If you are savvy, you could go out to our website. You can click on whether you are a current or a new student. Go to the financial aid page. We have a link directly to the federal government's website for the FAFSA application. If you already have your ID, if you don't, we also have a link for the FSA ID and assistance for that. In fact, this year, we're talking about all the new things. This year, we're actually getting ready to send out to the campuses a new financial aid application guide that just tells you the 5 simple steps in terms of applying for financial aid at Metro, because we don't require, again, any other application other than the federal application. And it does include our school code, which is 004432. And if you put that on your FAFSA, we will automatically get your information. And then also, once we get that information, like Ingrid had indicated, it will automatically generate an initial estimate based on your data of what you could expect. Now, that's not everything you could expect, because that's just going off your basic information. Once we start processing it, there may be other things that you qualify for, or if you're in the process of applying for like the Board of Governors scholarships, etc., those will be added on top of that. So it just gives them, though, a basic indicator if they're eligible for the Pell Grant program also.
You talked about, I mean, the title of the show is What's New in Financial Aid. You just talked about sending out to the campuses
a new brochure that tells students about that. The other thing that we're trying to start putting out information, we're going to start putting information on the website. So I tell people, go to the website often, look out, because we try to highlight new things. That we're currently in the 16-17 award year, which starts with this fall. And that's a new news that the fall quarter is the beginning of the financial aid year and the academic year at Metro. It had been different in the past. And
what had it been?
It had started with summer. And so everyone else in the world pretty much started with fall. And so we went through a transition where we actually had 1 year that had 5 quarters in our financial aid year.
To get to the fall.
To get to the fall, exactly. And so now it starts with fall every year. And then, so we're in the 16-17 year. Normally, students start applying for the year in January. And so the 16-17 year students started applying in January of 2016. Well, the government finally passed a process that allows us to do early FAFSAs starting this year. On October 1 of 2016, students can begin applying for 2017-18. So that would start with fall.
What you used to do in January, now you do in October.
You can start doing in October. So it's going to allow us to get students in earlier. If they have complicated, issues with their data, we have plenty of time to get their paperwork in order and get them an award. We'll start awarding in January, whereas right now our targeted award date is April 1 of each year. And the difference too is why they're able to do the early FAFSA. For this 1 year, both the 2016-17 and the 2017-18 applications are based on 2015 tax data. So that's why it's nice, because from now on, starting with that October 1 early FAFSA date, we're able to process applications that are based on a closed IRS year instead of families trying to rush and file their taxes
Right.
for 2015 so they can do their FAFSA, and it caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of additional follow-up for financial aid
Well,
offices.
you had to
so-
get your financial stuff together in January, and you really didn't have to get it done until April 15th.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And so a lot of families struggled, and I know a lot of farm families especially struggle to try to get that stuff done. And so what a lot of them would do is they would do estimates. And if you do an estimate, that's great, you can get an initial thing, but then once you file it, you have to do an update. So it kind of removes that guessing game and the what ifs that everybody had to go through. And now it's that year's closed, you got actual data.
Yes.
And so it also makes the data retrieval tool more easy for people to use because, again, they have already closed that year, whereas people would file, you can't use data retrieval until 4 weeks later after that data gets loaded into the IRS system. So it really takes out a lot of the grief that people were experiencing, and it's something they've been working on trying to achieve for over 10 years.
So with that background information, then we can make more sense of saying it's called prior year now.
Yes, I understand.
Prior year.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. For those who've just tuned in, what is the determination of what determines financial need?
It's called the expected family contribution, which is the product of your application. So you complete an application, it runs through a formula, and if you'd like to read 31 pages of data,
thank
it'll
you.
tell you how that it's calculated.
Oh, thank you.
I tell people if you want to know the breakdown, I can give it to you. And what it does is that expected family contribution correlates to the Pell Grant table. So it says if your EFC is from 0 to 100,
EFC.
that's the expected family contribution. If it's 0 to 100, you get X number of dollars as a full-time student, and then it prorates down if you're less than full-time. And that's another misconception.
That you have to be a full-time student.
People think they have to be full-time, and you do not. Pell Grant currently will pay all the way down to one class at any institution. Now, they are
What do you
looking
mean
at
by
that.
will pay down to?
In other
all
words,
but
it's
one?
prorated. If you're full-time, you have 12
Oh.
or more credits. If you're three-quarter time, you're in 9, 10, or 11 credits. Half-time is 6, 7, or 8 credits, and that's quarter credits for Metro, okay? And then if you are less than half-time, you can, like I said, you can be anywhere from 1 to 5 credits, and you would still get a partial Pell payment depending on that EFC.
Sure.
Because there's some where your EFC isn't real low, and so it will only pay you at full time,
Gotcha.
and then it drops off where you're not eligible if you're less than that.
Again, go through the process because you never know.
right.
Exactly.
That's right.
If you
And
wanna know, fill
and
it out.
based on the eligibility, then we have it set up so we know additional assistance available based on what your EFC is, because some of the other requirements are that you must be a higher need student, or some fall with, if you have a lower need, this is some assistance, because there's kind of a gap in between there of what considered Pell eligible and where someone has a lot of extra money to put towards, and there's a gap there.
Right.
And so we try to assist with that as well.
For example, there is a Nebraska Opportunity Grant, and the Nebraska eligibility for that grant is based on 110% of the Pell Grant. In other words, so if your EFC is right at the maximum for the federal government, but it's less than the state maximum because theirs is 110%, you might get some Nebraska Opportunity Grant, because we actually take that index, and our award philosophy for those funds is based on getting what I call the gap people. It's the families that they're the working poor. In other words, their family isn't the poverty level that like a 0 expected family contribution would be, but they're not flush with money to be able to just pay cash all the time. And so we try to take that index and take people that are above the low end on the Pell Grant and give them a little bit to help offset some of that strain of being responsible potentially for payment or from having to take out a student loan.
The depth and breadth of the financial aid program at Metropolitan Community College, explain how maybe that compares to other institutions? I mean, because you've talked about federal aid, and then don't think that that's all that there is. There's scholarship money, et cetera, and eventually, and also throw in the X factor of grant money versus loan money. And bottom line is there are a lot of opportunities at Metropolitan Community College, and it's not loan money, right?
That's right. That's right. We're eligible for all the Title IV funding any other regionally accredited college or university would be. So that would include the Pell Grant, the Supplemental Educational Grant, work study, loans. So work study is kind of an interesting one. And then outside agencies might help pay for some of they would require you to complete your financial aid form. Lots of scholarships, people who donate and want dollars to go to a specific type of student. So it really is, we really have a vast offering.
We have
of aid.
over 300 foundation scholarships that support directly to students, scholarships. We have, in addition, we have approximately a little over $1 million in what's called campus-based federal programs. That's the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant and the Work Study Program. So students who are trying to not have to take out student loans, if they are Pell eligible, a lot of if you have a zero expected family contribution, which we have thousands of students who are at that level, they can pay for their tuition, fees, and books and still get money back at Metro to help with their other expenses like transportation, housing costs, daycare, those types of things. So we're extremely affordable. And then if they still need a little extra money too, we have our work study program. We pay, our lowest paying work study job is $9 an hour. We have students can get increases their second year, they get a $1 raise. We have some what we call high skill work study positions that pay as much as $12 an hour, which is very competitive with just regular jobs. But the advantage of work study, they're going to work around your class schedule, and we have both on campus and off campus to try to match your major to give you some skills training related to your major. We also, the income that you get from that has a zero impact on your FAFSA because it is work study. So even though it's income, it's not taxable income, and it's not income that you're going to have count towards the calculation for that expected family contribution because it's offset where you list that you earned it from work study. It kind of offsets back to zero.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that Metropolitan Community College's tuition is so reasonable? Is that why you end up with some money to live on, basically?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because there are other schools that are higher cost where the Pell Grant doesn't even pay the bill.
That's important.
Yeah, that doesn't even pay the bill. They have to take out student loans, and even our students who take out loans, we don't even come to the level of where they have to take out, unless, like I said, they are higher EFC and they need the money, and it is available, but they don't even, our average loan indebtedness is well below the national average, and it's way below the average for community colleges. We're one of the lowest in the country because even of those who borrow, the amount they need to borrow to pay their expenses is lower because our costs are lower.
Yeah,
So
your
it's
tuition costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for students to know that when they're looking at going to college, because sometimes things can be lumped into, and you're eligible for this much financial aid. Make sure that's broken down to take a look at how much of that is grant money, how much of that is scholarship, things you don't have to pay back, how restricted those funds are, and also are you interested in work study? Was that included in it? And how much of it is loan, and it's built in as a package and saying this is all you're eligible for. That's a loan is a last option here. We want to make sure they understand that for the most part, if you're eligible, if you're a higher need student, you have enough money to pay for it and to live, use much towards your just other educational expenses, like Wilma mentioned.
And the bottom line of that is it gives you a way better chance of succeeding in college
That's right.
because you don't have to try to do 4 or 5 things and also go to college.
That's right.
Well, and the other thing is for parents, okay? This is a little tidbit. There's the parent loan, direct parent loan program. A lot of times other schools that are higher cost package in parent loans for dependent students because dependent students aren't eligible for as much as an independent student. There's additional funds for independent students. So they package in parent loans. If we do a parent loan, it's because the parent wants to take out the loan and not have the student isn't eligible, let's say, for the grants, but maybe they might get a scholarship because a lot of our students get some kind of scholarship. But we rarely do a parent loan. We're so low cost. We have never, ever in the entire time I've been at Metro and even in the prior to that, if we do, I think last year we did 2 parent loans and they were very unique situations, but we rarely even do a parent loan because they don't need to.
Just a hypothetical scenario here. I'll just pull these numbers out. Let's say a student applies for all the Pell money. Forget the grants and the scholarships. Forget the scholarships. And the number comes back, you get $10,000. Well, it's a different situation if my tuition's going to be 20 versus 5.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly.
I mean, that's what we're basically saying, right?
Well, let me give you a real example. This current year, the one that we're just finishing in summer, okay, a student who is a full-time student with a 0 EFC would get $1,925 in a quarter for Pell Grant. Our tuition fees and a maximum book budget for the quarter would still result in over about $600 and some as high as $700 refund
There you go.
back to the student
Yep.
just on Pell Grant.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, run out of time real quickly. What do you want to impart that we've not gotten to here? The entire outline, basically, but
Keep track of the watch our website. We're doing some exciting new things. New information we're making available in printed brochures that'll be at all of our campuses. We have new information we'll be posting about doing the early FAFSA. We've already started doing FAFSA workshops. We're going to expand that. I have some great staff that are going out. We just did a big event out at the Do Space. I love the Do Space. And we have others that are scheduled for both Fort Campus, South Campus. We're doing others that'll be coming up. So watch our website. Watch for announcements about all of those scheduled. If you need help, I have skilled staff that do those. We're there to help you answer questions. If you have unique situations, we'll hook you up with the right people to get through the process because there's no reason. I always tell students my overall thing, I said, if you come to Metro and you go to class and you do what you're supposed to do, I can find you money.
there you go.
I do want to add one more thing that's really important, and it's a new thing. If students are enrolled in a certificate all the way through a degree program, they need to be in a certificate of only 24 credits, a minimum of 24 credits, to be able to receive financial aid. In the past, they needed to be part of a degree program.
Oh, very good.
And so that's a big change, and it's something important for students to know, or people who are maybe looking to come back to school to retool, or non-traditional students who are working and want to come back and take something to maybe help them progress.
And we'll be launching a new page for that. There's some of those certificates, they're called gainful employment programs because they're less than a degree. And we're going to be launching a website that'll have all the disclosures. It'll give you the full cost of that program for however many credits it is. It'll give you the full cost, so you'll know exactly what you have to spend in order to get that certificate and get a great job, because they all are linked to some great jobs.
High skill, quick. Yes.
Thank you. Well done. And Ingrid, appreciate it. What's new in financial aid at Metropolitan Community College? Thanks for being with us again on Metro and More. Our goal is to better acquaint you with the mission, leadership, and the reach of the college. I'm Kent Pavelka for Metropolitan Community College. If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.